My guest today is the CEO of a revolutionary app called DataWhsp. It's a platform that helps game developers and software companies better leverage their data. My guest is all about helping organizations improve their product, lower user acquisition costs, and increase retention with DataWhsp. So please help me welcome all the way from New York City, Mo Hallaba. Welcome, Mo.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to talk about all things and data and AI.
No, it'd be awesome. And we want to focus today on the role of AI in data analytics and product/game development, but there's a
Mhm.
few other items we're going to chat about today as well. I just want to mention to the audience that I think DataWhsp is a really cool AI app, and our guest Mo today is going to hopefully be able to show us some demo screenshots on how this application works. But first, I want to ask you, Mo, how did you come up with the idea of creating DataWhsp?
Sure. So I was working with an esports team, and my co-founders now at DataWhsp also were working with me at this esports team. And one of the things this team did well was kind of like Moneyball, where they used data and analytics to train players to kind of overperform. So with the lowest salary budget of any of the teams that they competed against, they are actually able to stay competitive and win championships and stuff. And this was really interesting. So my team and I ended up like spinning out software out of the esports team. We had this growing software business that was servicing other teams, but then eventually servicing broadcasters in the gaming industry and whatnot. So that's how we got involved in data and analytics. And then we worked with some game developers, we worked with Twitch, and as we worked with more and more people within the gaming industry on analytics, we realized that there was this common theme that the people who need access to data often don't have the technical ability to be able to get it. One of the first things that we did that kind of drove this point home was there was the commentators for this one tournament wanted cool stats that they could read during the games. We'd have to feed the stats to them because they weren't able to get them themselves. So one time we calculated the longest distance that someone traveled while crouching around the map. Things like that, really entertaining and engaging, but again, like they're completely unable to get these stats. So we did that, and then we realized that this wasn't just limited to gaming, because with one of the game companies that we were working on, we were working with their data science team, which actually had a lot of, really technically sophisticated data scientists, and even they were running into some of these problems all the times on not really gaming related things. Just, they're working with the finance team, they're working with the marketing team, they need specific numbers and stuff. So that got us to start interviewing people outside of gaming, saying, hey, do you also have this problem? And they did. So that's how we came up with the idea of building something that allowed non-technical people to be able to explore data freely. That was the groundwork for DataWhsp.
Awesome, cool. Now, there's a lot of companies out there that obviously have data availability issues. And why do many tech companies suffer this issue?
In general, modern tech companies are producing more data than they have in the past. So there's more data being created and collected. At the same time, it's not like the number of data scientists has like 10x, at the same rate as the data. It's just we still have like a fairly stable number of data scientists everywhere. And so you have on one side a huge boom in the amount of data. On the other side, very slow growth in the number of data scientists that company hire, and therefore that data, less of that data proportionally is accessible, because it requires a technical person to unlock it for the rest of the organization.
Okay, cool. And we've got a number of data visualization softwares out there,
Mhm.
and there are some common data visualization software solutions that they're not very effective. Why is that the case?
A lot of those tools are very good at visualizing data. The problem is with accessibility. That's what we were just talking about. And the reason those tools are not accessible to people is because they're fundamentally built for data scientists to visualize data, not for, I don't know what your experience is in data science is, but certainly I don't have any. And I'm able to use DataWhsp without having that experience. And so when you go from 1 in 100 people being able to visualize data to everyone being able to visualize data using just plain English, it makes a huge difference in terms of accessibility.
Superb, excellent. Yes, I've used some data visualization software like uh, oh heck, old stuff, business objects. That goes way back. So I kind of have an idea, and then Power BI obviously is the latest and greatest one. So I have an idea of what you're talking about. When it comes to DataWisp, how does it really help game developers and software companies in user growth and user retention and cost savings?
Sure. So the easiest way to look at it is when you're doing user acquisition, you're trying to get people that are gonna come and in your game do certain things that you want, or in your app do certain things that you want. There's the people that show up, check it out for 2 seconds, and leave. You don't want those people. There's the people that show up, claim the free benefit that you give for signing up, and then leave. Right? You don't want those people. There's the people that show up, play a certain amount, invite their friends, buy the in-game stuff. Like those are the people you want, right? And so at a very high level, what DataWisp lets you do is when you are bringing in new users, it allows you to see based on which um, acquisition source they came from, what behaviors they exhibited in your app. And then you can say, well, people who come from this source do the things that we want. People that come from that one don't. So we should divert our resources to this, traffic source instead. And that will bring us more of the users that we want. We work with a game called Honeyland that did that. And they had a huge increase in users in a very short amount of time.
Superb. And one big important thing about AI is that some companies are not really using AI data solutions. Why is this the case?
There's two main things. One is correctness, and the other is interpretability, but it works together. So correctness is AI can be objectively wrong when it comes to data matters, and differently than it can for, let's say, marketing, right? Like if you have AI that writes marketing copy for you, it can be not quite what you want. It can be something you need to put some time into, but it's not objectively wrong. It's a very subjective field. Whereas in data analytics, there's a right answer when you ask a question, and it needs to get that answer exactly. It can't get close to that answer. So that's one thing. The other thing is interpretability. So the AI doesn't really explain to you how it's getting what it's getting. It just tells you what the answer is. If you ask it to return SQL, or if you ask it to do SQL, it'll tell you SQL. But most people that we're targeting, at least, don't know SQL. So if it gives you a bunch of SQL, that's useless to you. So it's really the combination of those two. If an AI is doing something wrong and you can't understand why, you're not going to use it. Just like if you had a data scientist that gave you the wrong answer and couldn't explain to you why they got the wrong answer, you would fire them, right?
Superb. And I really like DataWisp. I took a breeze through the website, and the big thing is that it's all about no low code. This is it. It's a tool for no low code. So if you don't understand SQL, this is definitely a tool for you if you want to go deeper into data analytics with AI. So another question, how does AI enhance data analytics in terms of accuracy, in terms of speed?
Um, what it allows is for more iteration and more exploration. So in general, you can think of, at least from the business side, like data scientists are problem solvers, and they're trying to help you do more business. They sell more product, get more users on your app. Ultimately, data scientists aren't there just to sit in a room and crunch numbers. They're meant to help you run your business better, right? And so part of this problem solving cycle is just asking a lot of questions, developing, hypotheses around what might be causing certain user behavior, and then diving into the data and then seeing what the answers are and then seeing if that makes sense. And so what DataWhsp allows is very quick iteration. Ask a question, see data. Ask a question, see data. Does something look off? Investigate that one a little bit more. Even for a data scientist, there's some really complex queries that could take a while to write, or they could have syntax errors, or something like that. And DataWhsp just does it in 5-10 seconds max. So even for a trained data scientist, there's some advantages to just being able to iterate really quickly.
That's incredible. So the speed is almost like supersonic in a sense. It takes away a lot of this manual effort that a human would have to do. It would take us forever, and almost instantly you've got the answer with an AI driven app.
Yeah, and we don't
Superb.
have, the other thing is we just don't have syntax errors, so you never have to worry about that. Sometimes the answer is complicated and you need to do 4 or 5 joins, back to back, and so some of these queries can be complicated to write.
Yes.
You've got to like proofread them before you run them, but with DataWhsp you just write your question in English and run it, and so
That's it. That's superb. Now let's talk about product and game development. So in what ways can AI improve decision-making processes for product and for game development when it comes to understanding user behavior and preferences?
sure. So let's focus on games for a second, and then I can talk about like just a regular app. But in games, there's a lot of different behaviors. It depends on the kind of game that you're building, but let's say you're building an online multiplayer game that's like a game as a service, right? So a free game monetized by microtransactions and really, really heavily dependent on like high engagement and people spending a lot of time in the game. Generally, there's a few things that you want to do. If it's a competitive game, for example, you want to make sure it's really balanced. You want to make sure that all the characters feel fun to play. You want to make sure that all the maps feel fun to play. Because if people are only playing one map, eventually they're gonna lose interest, right? Fortnite does a really good job of keeping things fresh. So even they'll change the map every now and then. They'll add new characters, IP collaborations, game modes, stuff like that. Even just within Fortnite. So you can use data to do a lot of things that I just talked about. So for example, in a lot of games, people on Reddit will complain. They'll say this hero's imbalanced, or this weapon is too strong, or this whatever. You can dig into the data. You could easily find out, hey, do players that use this win more, or do players disproportionately do X, and you can even filter it down to specific times. So in some strategy games, for example, you might have 2 factions and they may win 50% of the time each, but in short games one wins 75% of the time, and in long games one wins 75% of the time, and so that may become boring because you say, oh, there's only one play style, there's no creativity in this game, you have to play a very certain way. So with DataWhsp, what you can do, for example, is you could say, hey, show me, win rate for games under 10 minutes, or for games over 10 minutes, or for whatever, and you can kind of see how that lines up with how you designed your game and what you expect from the game. And so seeing if like expectation matches reality is a really good use case for something like this. I designed this level, for example, the first level is designed to be super easy, right? Everyone should be able to get through it because it's basically a tutorial, right? Are people getting stuck anywhere? Are people making it through as much as you expected? That kind of stuff. Data is really useful for that, because your alternative is just like watching people play the game. and like the, you know, if you want to collect 100 data points, right, and you have to watch 100 people play your game, that's way less efficient than just collecting certain bits of data and doing it that way.
Yeah, it would be interesting to get the game that just took place a couple of days ago, Florida against Edmonton, the hockey game. It would have been
Yeah.
nice to say, hey, all those stats in AI Wisp tell me that Edmonton's going to win, but damn, Florida won instead. So anyway, it'd be kind of cool to use these stats to try and not necessarily do betting, but to be able to
They
give you a
do, I
better
mean, they
idea
do
of.
betting with that stuff, yeah.
They do. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. Wow.
There's a few companies in gaming specifically around like esports betting, and they gather a ton of data and just sell it to betting sites.
Wow. Well, look at this. This AI is taking the world to a totally different level. All right.
Yeah.
I want to ask you one more question. How can AI be utilized to try to personalize the game experience, and what impact does this have on user engagement and user retention?
So outside of data, like just talking about AI, um, there's a lot of cool things that we're seeing already. AI generated player models. So characters can look different and act different based on, you know, things that either you input or based on the story. The other things is we've seen with like chatbots, that technology is being used to allow characters to respond more freely to the conversation. Like,
Mm,
so when you speak to them, they can talk to you slightly differently every time instead of just reciting the same pre-programmed voice lines. So that adds a little bit of immersion. And typically, you know, voice dialogue is reserved for like main characters, but in if you're playing like a big RPG game, now every single character on the map can have interesting conversations with you, because they're, you know, Gen AI can help in that way. There's a few cool companies. I'm blanking on the name of one I just saw in San Francisco actually. But companies that are already tackling this, you can give each character a personality. You could put guardrails on, and kind of dictate what topics they're allowed to talk about and what topics they're not allowed to talk about. So you can keep them like within the story well, but give them also that freedom to express themselves.
wow, that's cool. Now, I'm wondering if you want to give us a demo, a visual demo of DataWisp.
Sure, absolutely.
Hey everyone, I'm Cam, and here's how you as an analyst can find hidden insights in your data using DataWhsp. First, select a data source. We have some airport delay data. We see the year and the month, what airport it happened at, the carrier name, and then the amount of carrier delay. We also have the number of flights that were in that month. So if we want to calculate the total amount of delay per airline, we can group by carrier and calculate the sum of carrier delay. We see that SkyWest Airlines is the most delayed, but that's because they have a lot of flights. So if we want to calculate the airline that on average has the most delay per flight, we can additionally find the sum of the number of flights and then create a new column where we calculate the average delay. And this will be carrier delay sum divided by arriving flights sum. We can even put this in a chart. On the x-axis, we want the carrier name. On the y-axis, we want the average delay. And we see that on average, the most delayed is JetBlue Airways with almost 8 minutes per flight.
Well, the thing that I think is really cool about it is that it's not that generating data is anything new. Obviously, we've been doing it, but the time at which it takes, it could be so long. And look at this, you just put in a question, you don't have to type SQL, you get your results, and you can find out exactly where this problem is and just fix it almost immediately. I think that's incredible. That really is, you know, the speed at which AI is taking us to new levels is incredible.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I mean, when it works, it's way more impressive than this. But essentially what we've had is when you have a suspicion that something is off, you can ask a question and then continue digging into the data, and eventually you see a chart that looks weird, and you go, oh, maybe that's it, and then you dig in further. And it just saves so much time, because your alternative as a business person is to just email a guy, or woman, and wait for them to get back to you for maybe a week or so, and then you see the chart, and then you go, okay, well, that chart doesn't say anything. How about this? And so it just takes weeks or months just to get to the same insights.
Yeah, no, it's true. Well, thanks, Mo, for being on the show. And I think this is a huge new app that the audience can certainly take away with a lot of value. Just one last question. If anyone out there wants to get in touch with you, how can they do so?
Sure. So just shoot me an email, mo@datawisp.io. It's the easiest way to reach me. Otherwise, you can follow me on Twitter. It's electronic mo. And then also DataWhsp is on Twitter and on LinkedIn as DataWhsp. So you can check out the content that we put out there.
Superb. Well, thank you. If anyone's looking for jobs with DataWhsp, just go to datawisp.io, is it? What's
Yeah.
the DataWhsp website? And
Yeah,
take a look.
DataWhsp.io.
Okay, datawisp.io, and take a look. You never know, there might be a need for a developer job out there, or even a business analyst job, or a data analyst job, or a data scientist. So be on the lookout. Great. Well, thanks, Mo, once again. Thank you for being on the show.
Thanks for having me, Marcus. I appreciate it.